Yes, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay. Thank you, Mr. Matthew Ward. Thank you for having me, and good morning to your listening audience.
Very grateful to have you, along with Mr. Kieran Murdoch. Mr. Michael,
Well,
first question to you: do you still consider yourself a member of the Antigua Barbuda Labour Party?
of course, I'm still a member of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. The Prime Minister cannot declare that I'm not a member because I'm running independent. I mean, the court upheld in the judgment that I'm still a member and I'm at liberty to even attend all executive meetings. There's a court judgment saying that. He cannot say because I'm running independent that I've expelled myself from the party. He doesn't own the Labour Party. I've said so over and over and over. The Gaston Brown or no one man or Asot Michael owns the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party.
Right. Does the Labour Party constitution not forbid members to be run against the party, though? That's the impression I got from one of their functionaries recently on air.
There is, I think, in the code of ethics, I think there is in the rules. However, in the circumstances, I did not choose to run independent. Let us go back to the history of the matter. The Prime Minister made a declaration, started out on his radio station on Point FM, that I will not be running on his ticket. Then he kept repeating that over and over. And then I took the party to court. They tried to discipline me because I went on Observer Radio. I won that judgment about this disciplinary tribunal that they had set up, this kangaroo tribunal with Max Hurst. I won that judgment, and it is in that judgment that the judge said that the new branch of St. Peter's that they went and installed up at the basketball court in Paran that evening was illegal. And also the judge ruled that I am a member of the executive and I can attend all meetings of the Labour Party.
Right, so you still consider yourself a member of the Labour Party. Now, at your mother's funeral very recently, you stated that it was her wish that yourself and Gaston Browne make peace. Have you made any moves in that regard? Do you think this is even possible?
Well, not at this stage, the day before election. But Gaston Brown has made it very clear to my mother, even when my mother was ill, he called her one day and he said, she insisted, she said, Prime Minister, my family, myself, my late husband have made so many sacrifices for the Labour Party. And even to put you there as Prime Minister, I want peace. I want reconciliation. And he said, oh, Auntie Josette, that will come after the election. I will come and see you. Don't worry, after the election. He was at Dr. John's clinic, 3 hours before, maybe 2 hours before my mom passed. And he put his hands around me and hugged me up. He says, we are political enemies right now. But after the election, don't worry, we are blood brothers. You have done so much for me personally to make me Prime Minister. He said so in front of all of the nurses, in front of my family members, everybody who was present in the room before my mom died. There was the evening that I attended the function, the 50th anniversary of the Buntons at Fidges Creek. That same evening when he was in Pierce Village, when he said he was going to thump me in my face, he called me much earlier in the evening. And he said to me, I'm at the home of one of your constituents. I'm not saying anything bad about you, but I'm telling them that they can't vote for you because, the Labour Party has to win and so forth. But, me and you go way back. And he was very cordial to me on the phone that evening, that same night.
So you're suggesting that his comment that he's going to thump you in the mouth if you come within his personal space, you think that was just for optics?
I think that Gaston probably sometimes, the Prime Minister, I don't know. He goes off sometimes on tantrums. Sometimes he starts so well in a conversation with you, and then he goes off on different tantrums. I don't know what it is. If it's a split personality, I don't know what it is. If it's bipolar, but no, Gaston Brown is capable of doing what he said. He lost it that night. You look at the expression on his face. The tone of his voice. No, it was not just for optics.
But the accusation has been that you've been hounding members of the Labour Party or hounding Rodent Turner as they go. But not you personally necessarily, but members of your campaign team have essentially been harassing them. Is there any truth to those allegations?
Let me say this, Mr. Ward. from the start of the campaign, we started campaigning since what, a year and a half ago, or close to what, 2 years ago. And we do our campaigning. We go out every afternoon until late in the evenings and so forth. And recently, though, in the last 3 or 4 months, each place that we are campaigning, I don't know who calls them, then they show up. I mean, I remember campaigning up in Painters, and they show up, they come on the same street as us. We have no problem with it. Absolutely no problem. Then I was campaigning in North Sound, the North Sound development, and they were in Parham. We were told that they were in Parham. They left Parham, with, and they came into North Sound, and 1 or 2 of their members made trouble with 2 of my campaign secretaries. Actually, one of them took a glass of liquor and threw it in her face. I mean, it's no truth that we have been following Warden Turner. There's no need for Asot Michael to follow Warden Turner on our campaign trail or hounding him or members of my team. Absolute nonsense. But that evening when Gaston called me from the house, and I will say the house, I was called the name from Mr. Jallis, called Mr. Carl Daniel in Pierce Village.
Well,
and he had a conversation with me when I was in Fidges Creek, saying that he's at home and he's going house to house and so forth. I said, what are you doing in my constituency? You have work to do in your constituency or in the other candidates. Why are you in my constituency so often, Mr. PM? Oh, well, I have to make sure that you lose. I have to make sure you lose. And I have to give out largesse. I mean, so he's actually giving out money in my constituency. I told him on the phone, I'm going to come up there. And I did. I came up there.
Mr. Michael, the Prime Minister is not here to defend himself against these allegations. So just be mindful of that. I don't wish to be in court as you were yesterday. And by the way, just to bring up a court matter, in a statement issued yesterday, the Labour Party has stated that it welcomes the decision of Justice Dear Forrester to dismiss your motion to hold the supervisor of elections in contempt. Is this not the end of the matter?
Absolutely not. And let me make it clear, sir. The judge found that the order applied. She went on to give the officials, both Ms. Lorna Simon and the returning officer, Mr. Samuel, the benefit of the doubt that that order may longer apply. And the reason she did that is because Gaston Brown, lawyer, wrote them a letter behind everyone's back saying that the order no longer stands, when that was not the case. But the judge did not have any material before on that issue. And so she said she had to give the officials the benefit of the doubt at the hearing. But I am free, sir, Mr. Ward, to bring proceedings against the ABLP, which I will do at the appropriate time. Fresh proceedings replace everything before the courts, but that'll be a long, drawn-out process. But I just want to say, in my view, that the election officials are in contempt. The fact that the court did not make an order of contempt was not and should not be understood as a declaration that they were not in contempt or that they're not in contempt. The judge was clear. She gave them the benefit only of the doubt on the evidence that was before at the time. Further hearings with all the parties will allow a full venting of the evidence. And I'm confident, sir, that the court, having moved so far, will make that final step and hold all of them, when I say all of them, the ABLP leadership, the defendants to the original motion, that is Mr. Max Hurst, Chet Green, the chairman of the Labour Party, Mary Clearhurst, the general secretary, and Gaston Brown, all in contempt. Listen, let's make it clear. The ABLP statement is simply putting a spin on it, very well knowingly seeking to mislead the people of this nation. And St. Peter's, the warden attorney is duly appointed, when they know that is not the case. Because the original judgment says that he is not the official candidate. There was no primary held, and he should not be held out as the candidate for St. Peter's.
Do you feel betrayed by the Labour Party, Mr. Michael?
Not by the Labour Party, by Gaston Brown. I have no difficulty with the Labour Party, with my former colleagues, Chet Green or Cutie Benjamin or Robin Haywood or Malvin Joseph or any of them. Definitely not with the Labour Party. But yes, sir, I feel a deep sense of betrayal, hurt, disappointment with Prime Minister Gaston Brown. I mean, this is a man that I've done so much for. Personally, this is a man that, we traversed this country for 10 years whilst the UPP was in power, from 2004 to 2014, went up and down this country, and I used my family resources, my political capital in the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party to make him leader. Let's not forget. to make him leader of the party and prime minister over my own surrogate father, Celeste Brian Bird. And sir, he has made that lucidly clear. He have said so on his radio station. He said so at my 50th birthday at Le Bistro. He said so on his radio station. He praised me. He said that, that I've done so much for the Labour Party in 10 years. So of course I feel betrayed by Gaston Brown, and a deep sense of betrayal. And I'm saying to the people of this country, if Gaston Brown can do Asot Michael what he has done to me, after all what I have done for him personally and for the Labour Party, what would he not do to somebody else? No. What would he not do to somebody else? I've done Gaston Brown absolutely nothing.
No, the Prime Minister, just bear with me. The Prime Minister has signalled his intent to pursue legal action for libel and defamation. I know you've rubbished that in the past, and you said you handed it over to your lawyers. But are you prepared to defend that as well as any outcome from any cooperation between the government of Antigua and Barbuda and the United Kingdom? Because that's at the heart of why Mr. Brown says he dismissed you from cabinet, this situation in the United Kingdom and allegations of corruption on your part.
But sir, the Prime Minister is saying he dismissed me because of allegations of corruption. The Prime Minister fired me whilst I was being interviewed in London. Whilst I was being interviewed. Then we had, that was in October the 24th, 2017. Then we had elections in 2018, I think in March. Then the Prime Minister, remember, the Prime Minister put me back on the slate of candidates after having fired me, after being detained in England. Let's not forget. So why did he put me back on the slate in 2018 election? The incident in London happened in October 2017, and he put me back on the slate of candidates. So why he put me back on the slate, and then he fired me in 2018, only 3 months, 4 months after winning the election, I think it was in May of 2018 or June, on an allegation that Peter Birdie made in open court. On an allegation. I've never been charged up to today, nearly 5 years later, 4.5 years, whatever it is. And Chet Green got up at the opening of Rod and Turner's business hub at Parham the other day, and on Sunday, I think it was, and read some purported letter saying that I have been charged. I've never, ever been charged. Right, so, total nonsense. That's a red herring that the Prime Minister wants to use because the Prime Minister is paranoid, because I questioned the Prime Minister's wealth. The whole breakdown with me and the Prime Minister came because I stood up in Parliament and I said, I can account for my wealth, but I'm asking him as the Prime Minister to account to this nation how he derived all of this wealth from his legal income as Prime Minister. How is he able to do all of these things? And from that day, the Prime Minister went on a tirade and wanted to wipe me out from the political life of this country. That's the crux of the matter.
No,
that is what is. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Right. No, that's okay. That's okay. Just trying to run through as many questions as I can. Now, your conduct in the CUB last week, that has been, people have seen the videos far and wide. It's been widely circulated. Many saw it as a reminder of the accounts of behavior of the kind that many will say is objectionable and disqualifying. Are you proud of how you behaved in CUB last week?
No, I'm not. I had no right to use expletives. I was totally out of order. I apologize for that. But let me just say, sir, that I've been frustrated. My family and myself have been frustrated. It's been politically motivated. It has absolutely nothing to do with the management, the employment of CUB, because we've had a great relationship over the last 12, 14 years, as long as CUB exists, as long as we have had an account there. And we have had absolutely no problem wiring monies, taking monies out, writing checks. We've always had a good relationship with the bank. But recently, coming up to this, 1 minute, sir, if I may answer your question, coming up to this election, we have filled out all the normal declaration, source of funds and purpose of the funds. The funds would sit in the account for 5 days, $350,000 for 5 days, 6 days. It's the same source that the funds have been coming from for years. The same source that it came from my mom's account in Miami, and now my sister's. Now she's dead. It's not that we are new customers. We had no problem last election in 2018 withdrawing funds and withdrawing cash to pay my workers and withdrawing funds to pay for my campaign paraphernalia and suppliers and paying them and wiring transfers. And now they're returning out checks, bouncing out checks, stopping the things and refusing to transfer the money and having the money sit in their account for 5-6 days. So yes, I was wrong to use bad words and expletives, but I was extremely frustrated.
Right.
Frustrated, you know, when it is then you write small checks to different people and they're bouncing those checks and somebody go to the bank and you're embarrassed and you go there and you can't get your money.
So are you satisfied though? Are you satisfied?
Matter.
Yeah, are you satisfied though that you met all of their requirements? Because the impression that I get, certainly coming out of their statement, and certainly coming out of conversations with persons familiar with the matter, they said that, you know, it had nothing to do with Gaston Browne or the Labour Party government. It was just simply them doing their jobs and following the internal processes. Is that not true?
No, sir. Sir, no, sir.
Okay.
Of course, we all of the requirements. It's the same wire transfers that we do every month from the same account, the same forms we fill out, and we have never ever had a problem. There was no extra requirements. You wire money in from my account, not my account, from my sister's accounts in Miami. You fill out the source of funds where it's coming from. You fill out the purpose of the funds, and they're to transfer the funds immediately. Immediately. They used to transfer the funds within 24 hours, not to have the funds sitting in the bank 5-6 days and then returning your checks.
Do you still have a relationship? You still have a relationship with CUB?
Yeah, they've not closed their accounts. They're very nice to us now. I mean, you know, and they're cooperating now, and I must say, but I've not spoken to them recently, but they're cooperating with my sisters and so forth.
Okay.
Yes,
so,
we'll have a relationship. But let's go on to the next question. I don't want to take up all your time at CUB, sir.
Yes, I completely understand that. Let's talk about St. Peter. Excellent segue. You've been MP there for a number of years. 18 years by my count. Am I correct with that? 18 years?
That's correct. Yes,
right.
That's correct.
All right.
First elected in
what's the most significant and lasting contribution that you think you've made to the people of that constituency?
In terms of healthcare, in terms of you know, education, you know, I've sent a lot of people away, a lot of students on full scholarships overseas from our family trust. I've also sent a lot of people to not just for education overseas, but in terms of here in Antigua and Barbuda, to University of the West Indies, help them to State College. So I've done a lot for the St. Peter's youth in terms of education. I've always been there for my constituents in terms of medical assistance, whether it's to travel overseas, whether it's for here. I mean, don't forget, I actually had computer classes and 2 computer labs, one in Piers and one in Parham, with over 350 computers, both in Parham and Piers collectively, and doing night classes and day classes for free for over 10 years before the buildings were burnt down. I mean, I've done a lot for education and continue to do so. I've done a lot in terms of even infrastructure, where the government have not provided roads. When the Prime Minister told me last election, I don't need any roads, that the people, you know, love me, I'm going to win the seat overwhelmingly. I said, really, Prime Minister? They can't take love to the bank. I mean, they're citizens, they're residents, they pay taxes like everybody else. And I had to go into my pocket, into my family resources, and buy Orlean and buy stone and grade roads in Fidges Creek, in Vernon's, in Lightfoot. I mean, I've done a lot in terms of infrastructure that no other politician in this country have done. No other politician in the Caribbean would go into their pocket and spend $4 million building government roads when that is a responsibility. I've cleaned up the environment, cleared costly trees, cleared bushes. My whole constituency from time to time looks like a forest. I hire heavy-duty equipment to try and keep the place clean and looking tidy and having people safe in their homes. So I've done a lot, sir. I've done a lot in terms of IT connectivity, giving people internet to their homes, giving laptops to students, CXC students, secondary students.
So in your view, would you say that St. Peter has been neglected by the Labour Party for the last 18 years?
Of course it has been neglected, sir. So it's been neglected for more than 18 years. Just been neglected since Uncle Joe Myers. You know, they've done absolutely nothing. Neither the UPP or the ALP for the St. Peter's constituency.
Well, I don't know.
Look at the clinic. Look at the clinic in Parham. I mean, the roof is leaking. There's no veranda there for the elderly to sit on the veranda. You know, when it rains. So there's no clinic in Pierce Village. And
here's a question, Mr. Michael. Just I take your point. We take your point. So if you are a member of the Labour Party.
Break, sir. 1 second, 1 minute break, sir.
Yeah. You're there? Oh, it sounds as though he's addressing.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now, you have been the representative for the last 18 years, representing the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party, who's been in office for 8 years. What makes you think that you're going to be able to be of greater assistance to the people of St. Peter if you are elected as an independent outside the margins of the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party?
Listen, I'll work with any government that wins. I'm not saying that because I'm going to win as an independent candidate, I'm not going to work with the government of the day. You have to work with the government of the day, whether it's the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party or the UPP. But I will also have to use my connections in a much more vibrant way, leverage those connections, and really try to do more with NGOs, with the community, with people overseas, go to friendly governments myself, to the Chinese, and negotiate with them to get a clinic, and not go through the government. Rather than begging Minister Mortimer Joseph for 4, 5, 6 years to get a clinic, I'll go to the Chinese ambassador myself. I'll write to the Chinese government. I'll write to other, international agencies. I mean, there's the OAS study that was done for the whole revitalization of Parham in terms of restoring all of those beautiful buildings, those historical buildings. And that study was done since in the 1990s. And no Labour Party government have seen it fit. I mean, in all of the 130-something or 126 pages of the ABLP manifesto, they've not made one single word, not one word about this OAS study that was done, the Organization of American States, for the refurbishment and modernization of Parham. Parham was the first town in Antigua and Barbuda. And that study, sir, laid out a comprehensive plan to develop the waterfront, marinas, duty-free shopping facilities, arts and crafts. As I just said, the historical buildings like the market, the post office. That police station should have never been torn down. And of course, the St. Peter's Anglican Church, which is an Antiguan landmark. So I will really, really make sure that that project gets done. I mean, Parham waits to become the Northeast Service Center for tourism, especially ecotourism. I took that study. I took it to cabinet. The Prime Minister knows about it. He knows about it since before we got to be in government in 2014. We drove up there many times together. And he knows that it will be a perfect complement to the existing north-south axis of Dickinson Bay to Falmouth on the west side of Antigua.
Mr. Michael?
And the people...
Yes. We receive your answer. We have about 5 minutes to go. I am inviting my colleague, Mr. Kieran Murdoch, to pose a question to you before we wrap.
Mr. Michael, I think it would be...
How are we doing, sir?
I'm good. I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't ask the question. You have been accused of a litany of corrupt acts spanning more than 2 decades in Antigua and Barbuda. And you have usually and consistently and vehemently denied the allegations that have come over that span of time. Are you telling us here today that you were wrongfully accused in each and every case? A lot of people find that somewhat difficult to believe.
Well, I don't know what allegations you're speaking about, sir. I mean, as a politician, you always get a lot of mud thrown against you. And I've been in government for 25 years. I've been an active parliamentarian and elected for 18 years. But before that, I was chief of staff to Lester Bird, where they accused us of things that was wrong. I was a minister of government, public works, junior minister of finance. And when you're in government for 25 years, don't believe that, people are not going to... You have to have some enemies. You have to have some people who are going to envy your success. And they're going to have allegations from time to time, like any other politician. I mean, there are other prime ministers in the Caribbean that have been accused of allegations. But you tell me which allegation that's been proven. The IHI scandal, when the UPP hounded us, when Baldwin Spencer got him in Parliament, says you're going to hound me. And, they sent policemen and armed soldiers to my home and all of that. They took us to court, dragged us through the courts, Lester Bird, myself, Sir Robin Haywood. They didn't win any of those cases with IHI. They could not prove one single thing. And the irony of it is that Gaston Brown knows the whole truth about IHI. And now he as Prime Minister, is saying the same allegations the UPP brought us through when he knows the truth. And we have been vindicated by the courts here in Antigua and in Miami.
So you have never abused public resources in any way. Is that what you're telling the people of Antigua and Barbuda right now?
Absolutely not.
Not one time.
Absolutely not. Never have I abused public resources. I came into government to serve the people of this country. I don't need to abuse or take anything from the government or from contracts or to be corrupt and take out monies from the people of this country.
Could I ask one more thing?
Let me make it elucidly clear to you, sir. My family, we are very humble people, but we don't need anything. I did not come into politics wanting to make money, unlike others. I've given back to this country because I believe that this country has been good. They've been good to my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my father. And we made our money from the people of this country. And I believe that I have an obligation, a fiduciary duty to give back service and to give back money. I've always been a generous person, always a loving person, before being into politics. Did you tell me which allegation, whether it's IHI, whether it's Peter Verdi, what allegation, what charge has Asot Michael been with the missing files under the UPP? We won that case. What? There have been a lot of allegations when you're in government for 25 years. Okay. You must have mud thrown at you, sir. Let me finish here. And look at how much mud they threw at Lester Bird, accusing him of this mine and all of these things. Yes. So they have not thrown mud at Gaston Brown too?
We're against time. We're against time, sir. But let me ask you one question before we go. You see yourself, you've described yourself as a potential kingmaker. Is this only in relation to the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party, should it come to a close election situation, or does this also apply to the United Progressive Party, this role of kingmaker?
I did not say I'm a kingmaker.
Oh, you didn't?
A question. No, I never said that. A question was posed when I did the interview on ABS television, when Mr. Burford said if I see myself as a kingmaker. Okay. I never used the term kingmaker.
Okay. Do you see yourself as a kingmaker? I'm asking you the same question. I don't know if I saw that entire interview.
I don't see myself as a kingmaker, sir. I'm not no kingmaker. I'm a humble servant of the people of this country, running as a humble candidate to be re-elected and to be an independent candidate. However, if the election is close, suppose it's 8-8, I'm going to win my seat. So you tell me what you think is going to happen. I don't have to be a kingmaker. I may very well become the Prime Minister of the country. You never know. I'm not saying that is going to be the case. All right. And then he went on to ask me a question about the Labour Party. And I made it very clear that their colleagues in the Labour Party are not pleased with the Prime Minister. Right, and they want to see the back of him. That is how I answered the question.
Yes, you did say you didn't. So right now, at this time in Antigua and Barbuda's history, whose leadership will Antigua and Barbuda benefit from most? Harold Lovell or Gaston Brown?
No, sir. I cannot make that decision. That is a decision for the electors of this country. I am not going to get into that and answer that question and say whether Gaston Brown or Harold Lovell leadership will benefit one way or another.
Would you serve under Gaston Brown if you have to make a coalition with him? If he changes his mind?
I will always do what is in the best interest of this country and the people. I have no rancor against Gaston Brown. I have no hatred for him. I no malice. Whatever is in the best interest. I'm a patriotic man. I am not just here to run as an independent candidate to be on a backbench. I will serve in any government for the best interest of the people. What is in the best interest of their welfare? To improve this country and to rebuild this country and to build on our paths.
Yes.
So I'm not going to get in and say Gaston Brown is better.
Understood. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. We wish we had more time, but we have to go now. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, though, for giving us some of your time this morning. I know you're very busy. All the best in your campaign, sir.
Thank you, and I would like to thank both of you and Mr. Murdoch, for having me, and for thanking you for having me on your station this morning, and for your listening audience. I just want to close by thanking the good people of St. Peter, and to tell them that I'm humbly asking them for their support on election day, and to let them know that they know that I've been trusted, tried, and my representation, my loyalty to them is unquestionable. I love them. I love the people of Antigua and Barbuda. God bless you, and thank you for having me.